Okay, so mind mapping is a technique through which you can brainstorm or elaborate an idea. This technique is used in education, uh, scientific analysis, statistics, industrial design, problem solving, and whatnot. But in context with software testing, we're using mind maps for articulating our artifacts, for example, test plan and test cases. So everybody understands what test plan means. Can somebody tell me what test plan is? Okay, test plan is a bigger document that nobody wants to read, right? Is that so? Okay, so I'm going to share with you a sample proposal in which we add a lot of stuff, right? What we are going to do, how we are going to test, what are the scope, approaches, and whatnot. So everybody likes to document all the nicer things that they are going to do in such big document. This is only 15-page document. People like create 150-page document as well for their articulating what they are going to do in testing or test planning. Um, I am not a big fan of documenting everything in such elaborate fashion. So what I try to do is I try to minimize that effort and concise the put the information in more concise and precise way. So let's say in test plan, can anybody tell me what are the components? So we have objective, right? What is the objective of that test plan? Then we have, let's say, scope. And in scope, we write what to be tested or features to be tested and features not to be tested. What else we have in test plan?
Estimation.
Sorry?
Effort required. Estimation.
Okay, efforts, and then you have like estimates, right? What else? You have schedule. Then you can add start date, right? And end date. Actually, for each of the activity, you can add one more layer here, right? Then what else we have?
Test strategy.
Okay, strategy. And what do we add in test strategy?
How the testing process, what inputs, and we need to give values, data.
Okay. So what all test types we are going to use, right? So test strategy can indicate what all test types we will have. Um, it could be unit, integration, then we will have functional,
Regression.
right. So all of that. We can add that under test type. Then what else we can have?
Roles and responsibilities.
Right. So we will have roles and responsibilities. And under that, we can have who is, let's say, QA lead and add that person's name. We can have tester 1, tester 2, add their names, right? What else?
Testing environment.
Excellent. So we have test environment. And then we have here, let's say, test environment. We have dev environment. We have staging environment. And then we have production environment. What else?
Test deliverables.
Okay, then deliverable. So in deliverable, we have this test plan. Then we have test cases. Then we have test report. And then we have defects, right? What else? What else can be added in test plan? Actually, under test types, I mean, there are so many, like your performance, security, depending on what we are going to test. There are testing types. Yesterday, we have seen that there was a balloon of lot of testing types. Actually, that itself was a mind of testing types. So we can add all of them here if we are really doing a lot of tests. Then we have what else we are missing? Entry exit criteria.
Yes. Test closure activity.
Okay. Entry and exit criteria. Test closure, somebody said, right? Okay. What else? Okay. So basically, what we are articulating is how this is the test plan. This is what I'm going to do. You can actually add values. So in to be tested, you can add actual features, right? I have not added them, but let's say login is one feature, log out, add employee, something like that, right? So all of your features can be added as to be tested, and what not to be tested also can be added. For start date, you can actually add date 01, 01, 2021, and let's say 12/01, 2021, something like that. This is MMDDYY. So you can add your actual dates, you can add your efforts, 12% month, uh, something like that. So that this, apart from just titles, you are actually adding the data in there as well, right? So this is what the usage of mind map in test planning. You can articulate all the information that you're putting in very descriptive mind map. I mean, a very descriptive document to a very concise and precise mind map. Okay. So that is the use of mind map in, this is one of the examples how we can use mind map to reduce our efforts, but still convey the same information. Now, let's, any questions on this particular example? Yes, no, going once, going twice. Okay.
No.
All right. So let's talk about our, how we can use mind map in actual test case generation. So yesterday we have seen a lot of test case design techniques, right? So today what we'll do is actually implement those test case design techniques and see how we can put them into mind map rather than using them to traditional test cases. Everybody has understood what traditional test cases are, right? There is ID, steps to execute. It's more tabular, or maybe you can use some tools as well. But here in our case, let's say we have a form to fill up, right? Let's say you're creating a employee form, and in that form you have um, this is user registration form, for example. So you have first name, you have last name, you have your date of birth, and then you have a drop down with gender, and let's say that's it. And then you have submit, and then you have cancel. So this is your form, and for this you are going to, maybe this is registration. And for this you are going to create test cases. Now when you start writing test cases in mind map format, you want to make sure that you have your topic at the center. So I'm going to create a topic at the center, registration. And then I'm going to start creating test cases in the similar fashion that it is outlined there. So let's say I want to test or create test cases for all the validations that I have for first name, right? And we can create end-to-end test cases as well later. But what will you test in first name? Given that it should be not less than, I mean, it can be, it is mandatory. So this is mandatory, this is mandatory. All fields are mandatory basically. And this can go from, it should be at least minimum 3 to 25 characters. That's it. So what are the test cases for first name? Okay, everybody forgot yesterday's training session, I guess. So first name can have check whether it can be blank first, right? What else? Check whether it accepts minimum 3 characters first. Then check whether it accepts 25 characters. Then what? Boundary value, equivalence conditioning.
Below 3 characters.
Okay, let's say 2.
2, yeah. And above 25.
About 25.
So 26.
26. One in between, let's say 15. Then if it is accepting characters, is it also accepting special characters?
Special.
Right? Dollar, ampersand, backslash, hyphen, whatever, right? So all of those
Numeric values.
numerical values. So you can add 1 to, let's say, basically 1 to 9, any values, right? So any numerical values, and you can go on and on to create your test cases for first name. You can be as detailed as you can into your mind map or as abstract as you want. So for example, I'm just checking first name whether it accepts valid or invalid values. If I don't want to do all of this, I can just say, okay, I don't care what detail level test cases are there. I'm just going to write two paths here. One is valid and other is invalid, right? So first name, let's say valid, and second is invalid. You can create valid and invalid branches for that, and then maybe you can create um, other branches to this to signify what detail level test cases you are doing. Then similarly for you, this you can do for your last name as well. Maybe add a blank in there, right? Blank, valid, and invalid. Similar to that, you can add it for, sorry about that, add it for your DOB, which is, you can't keep it blank, let's say, but blank, valid, and invalid. And invalid you can say in future. You cannot have somebody born in future and add that as a date of birth, right? Something like that. So when you are creating your scenarios in your head, you can write it down. So what are what can be an invalid date? Date of birth cannot be in future. It can be in past, but how far in the past it can be. So you can ask this question: how old our user can be, or where should we put that cutoff? Is he 100 years old or more than 100 years old, right? So you can ask this question to your product owner or business owner and maybe get this clarified. How far in past and how far, future is not allowed basically. And valid, you can check on what date format it is. If it is a date picker, normally these days, it is going to be a date picker, which will be a drop down or a calendar which pops up. But in earlier days, we used to have please add dates in, sorry, MMDDYY or DDMMYYYY. And if this is the format, then if we add, let's say in date, if you want to go beyond 31, it should not be allowed. Or depending on what month you choose, it should not be allowed beyond 28 or 27, whatever, 29. Then year cannot be greater than 4 digits and it must be numeric. So all of those validations you can add for valid and invalid scenarios. And you can keep going and thinking about what could next scenario be. So mind map can be very detailed or very abstract depending on how you want to use it. Now our next field, gender, can also be valid or invalid. Okay. So these are all field level validations. So gender can be, it cannot be blank because you have to select something there. So it can be valid or it can be invalid. And you cannot put any invalid because that is not allowed. You must choose something here. That's other than that, the person cannot go ahead. Here is NA maybe as a default field here. And sometimes people allow NA in countries like US where they don't want to divulge what gender you are. But you can put valid things there. Now, what we have done here is we have done field level test cases here, right? Then what you can do for form level things, right? So test cases, right? So you can keep all of the fields blank and click on submit, right? So you can actually put that as one of the test case, all fields blank. But don't make it too big. I mean, you do not have to write like full sentence here and then check what happens. You can uh, click on cancel directly and see what happens. So all of these test cases can be covered like this. You can say that I want to enter, I want to enter all fields and all validations together and click on submit and see what happens. So your mind map can be as detailed as you want or as abstract as you want, depending on how you want to use your mind map for creating test cases. As I mentioned in my earlier example, you can actually create a big detailed mind map or a small mind map per module. You can create system level mind map, and you can create component level mind map. This is registration form is just one component, let's say, of your entire application. Then you can keep it very abstract. Now, what can you use this for? Let's say you have created this mind map. So when you create this mind map, not by hand, but tools like XMind, then you can use it as template, right? And also put the execution here on this form itself by saying that if you create a template or a stencil, you say that, okay, I have tested this, I have tested this, I have tested this, and maybe keep adding those marks wherever you say that you have tested it. Okay, that is one of the ways to add your test results. If let's say you have tested valid and invalid and you have tested blank but it failed, then you can add a cross there and add, let's say, defect ID D123. I raise this, right? So you can add your failures and you can add your defect ID as well. Actually, this can also be a hyperlink so that it goes to your Jira or whatever you are using. This is also another use of mind map. So your whole mind map can be combination of ticks and crosses, and then you can add your defect ID 31. Let's say you add it for this, something like that, right? So you can add all these annotations there. That is one of the uses of using mind maps. Other way to use mind map is actually to add flags for whether it is smoke test or not, or whether it is regression test or not. So you do not want to add all of your test cases into your smoke test, because then it will be overkill of your test, overuse of your test automation. So for example, I want to, let's say, check that this is my smoke test, right? So I can add a flag there, maybe as S, or maybe I can use this flag like this. This is my one of the test case. This is my another smoke test case. I want to choose one of this as smoke test case, right? So all of them can be my test cases. um, and all fields blank. Maybe I don't want to use that. So these four test cases can be my smoke test cases. So you can use your mind map to show what is your um, designated, automated, or smoke test cases, and you can use them for actually automating and then showing coverage, right? So this was my earlier flag for just smoke test cases. I want to add another color and mark it as yes, this is automated. This is automated. This is also automated, but this is still not automated. That's it. Right. So you can use various flags to do that. XMind is very powerful tool. You can use it to create your mind maps, export it, and share it. I'll get into that in a moment. so that you can actually see, rather than using pen and paper like this, what you can do with XMind. Okay. Any questions on how to create mind maps, or how to use it in testing, or any testing efforts?
So we have to use annotations compulsory, or it depends on company, or it depends on the tool which we are using for preparing the test cases.
No, it depends on you, what you want to annotate really, right? There are, I mean, currently the mind map tools available in the market are intelligent enough to add any annotations, but you have to decide what are your legends, for example, right? So let me share my other screen and see if I can bring it up. Okay, so this is the X. Can you see my screen with XMind?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the XMind tool using classic. And you can choose any of these themes, or you can choose what kind of chart you want to use. You can whether it is organization chart, which looks something like this, or tree chart, or whether you want to use timeline chart or fishbone diagram. This is mostly used for root cause analysis, or you want to use metrics. This could be used for a decision table, right? So let's say one of the usages that you want to check is how to use mind maps in root cause analysis. Everybody understands what root cause analysis is?
Yes.
Okay, so root cause analysis is you have found a problem, maybe a bug, right? The bug is, let's say, the first name accepts values more than 25 characters. That's what you tested, and you found that there is a bug. So for that bug, you can create a root cause analysis. So let's say first name greater than 25 accepted. And then for this, you can ask questions as to why did that happen. So who found it? Developer found, I mean, tester found it, or developer found it. So tester found it in testing. So you ask why did that happen? So let's say developer says that, okay, I did not know that the limit was 25, right? So why did developer did not know is because he did not create unit test, right? Let's say unit test was not created to test that it actually accepts only 25 or less than 25. Then why was the unit test not created? Because maybe developer had less time, or was not interested, whatever is the case. But then when we ask developer, he says, I didn't even know that there was a limit, upper limit of 25. Then you can check on why he did not know, because it was not stated in your user story, right? So you want to keep asking what is the real reason for not, I mean, getting that problem. And then you find out the real cause, that it was not stated in the user story. You want to make sure that going forward you have that documented in the user story. Make sense? Or treat it as what all things attributed to this problem. So unit test was not created, dev had less time, and it was not stated clearly in the user story. All of them could have attributed to the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's look at how you can create a simpler mind map in very easy way. Once we join back, it is going to all right. So I want to create another mind map, and for this I'm going to use a separate template. I'm going to have new, and I'm going to choose this classic 2. Okay, now there are two ways to do it very fast if you want to really create it using a simple method here where you can add, let's say we created one for registration. Now let's say create one for sign in, which is very simple. So I can create sign in, and there are various methods. You can actually use your credentials, or you can sign in with your Facebook, your Google, or your, let's say, add another. You can add subtopics like this, or you can add LinkedIn, right? So this is my one way to do it. Second way to do it is go into Outliner, and in Outliner you can add whatever you want to do it here. Let's say instead of sign in, I'm adding application, because my sign in is actually my subtopic. So I'm going to say sign in here, and then all of these are my subtopics of sign in. So I can say, okay, I want to put them as subtopics of sign in. Go back. See, it is very simple tool to use. You have application, you have sign in. Now you want to put all your registration test cases here that you created earlier. Once you put one more enter, outdent it and say registration, then add your first name, last name, your DOB, your gender. Then in first name, you want to add all those test cases again. Then you can say blank, valid, invalid, whatever. All right. Then it looks like something like this. Correct. So it is very easy to expand your test cases for your, using your mind map, and to annotate, use icons like this. Let's say this is my first priority test case, right? And all of first priority test cases I'm going to automate. So that is how you annotate your test cases or mark them as important. And once you, let's say, create a copy of this, you save it as, let's say, your application mind map, and then you can actually create a duplicate of this, or save as an application, let's say execution on today's date. What is today's date? 8th, right? 8th of July. You can create another copy of this, and then you can add your execution check marks here. This work, this work. LinkedIn actually did not work, so you're going to add either a cross mark there like this, or you can use this and then add a link to this. And for this, you can go to maybe a sticker. You can add a sticker if you want. You can add comment here, And for that, you can use this note and add defect number T123, right? Something like that. And for every defect, you can actually add a link here. Maybe I don't have link right now, but you can also add links to this. You can actually annotate that this is a defect. You can add numbers here directly by using these icons, the numerical icons, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So you can make use of these and either make your mind map look beautiful or ugly, depending on what you really decide to do with it. You can also add actually images here if you want to. You can add links to web pages, topics, or local files. You can add attachment, you can add audio notes. So you can do a lot of stuff here, but if you want to put it on paper, so try to use minimum number of things or that can be printed. I mean, you do not want to have audio in there which cannot be printed because you want it to be shared with others, right? Then you can export this as, let's say your QA lead or your manager asks what is your test coverage right now, how much you have finished and whatnot. So you can tell them that whatever is green mark or a blocker mark is your test case execution. And then you can export this as PNG or whatnot, application PNG, let's say. And once it is saved, you can open it and show that how it looks, right? So as this is a trial mode software, obviously you're going to have, XMind is not going to give you it free of cost, right? So you can have this mind map trial mode annotation here, but look how it looks. It looks beautiful for me. Um, and likewise, you can create more mind maps. You can actually, I mean, crop this if you want, but try to pay for licenses if you really want to use it effectively. Okay. Any other question on using mind maps for your testing or annotating your test cases?
No, sir.
Okay. One more thing. I mean, once you create mind maps like this and they get bigger and bigger, there was a question earlier in my team itself. How are you going to, let's say, add references, right? So let's say there is registration has its own separate mind map, and you are, let's say, in sign in, you are calling it because you have registered as a LinkedIn user or Google user. If you want to refer to that, maybe you can add um, uh, annotation here for, let's say, or note here that it is coming from um, registration module. And you can annotate some number there if it is, let's say, 23. You can add reference for 23. If you want to relate two things together in same mind map, you can do it using relations. So let's say user credentials, where are you getting it from? Once you create, I mean, register it as a user, only then you will be able to uh, use it as a credentials. So depends on, let's say. So sign in user credential depends on whether you have registered it or not. So that's how you can create relationship between two different nodes of your application. Um, if you have different users for your application, then you can create different, logical paths for your mind map. So, for example, sign in is shown it for new users, but if you have, let's say, existing user, then you can just create another user here, another subtopic here, and that is actually this is sign on, sign in, user management. And in user management, or maybe people call it profile, and in profile you can have different options to edit. You can add summary or whatnot, and then you can add, let's say, billing, something like that. So all of this can be after you have done sign in, right? You can see profile only after you log in. You can have dashboard, let's say, and on dashboard you have various links, like see invoices. You can have bills. Well, let's assume that this is more of a Zoho Books kind of application. You can have sales, you can have purchases, and you can keep adding more and more modules as you see it in your application. And this is very natural process for you to even navigate to the system. So if you go to application and let's say log in, or sign in using LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, whatever, then only you can see this. Then you can add dependency from login, or you can add a dependency here itself. By saying that login as a user, only then you can see dashboard, right? So this becomes a child for um, accountant user, and then accountant can only see this dashboard, which is accountant dashboard. This is your application. So you can say that accountant can only see accountant dashboard. If you are, let's say, a manager, manager will see manager dashboard. And for that, you can create another subtopic. As a user manager, I can see a manager dashboard. And manager dashboard could be a lot different than this, or maybe it is the same dashboard. Then you can also add a summary of all of these, and maybe like this. Come on, control. And you can also make a relationship from that summary to here, right? And add a relationship here. So there are a lot of ways you can use this mind mapping tool and create beautiful mind maps to articulate your test cases. Is this tool easy than using pen and paper?
Yeah.
And is it beautiful rather than seeing my ugly handwriting? Right? I mean, it is very easy. I mean, if you start writing your mind map in this fashion, you would write any mind maps in not more than 15 to 20 minutes, right? Bills, you can, let's say, if you want to create bills, you have options to create, delete, edit, view, all of those options you want to see. If you have other options in invoices as well, you can just Control C, Control V, and delete this and go back, and it is already in invoices. In sales, you can have create invoices, send reminder, uh, add customer or client, and all of these. So it is rather easy sometimes here than keep juggling with all those options to add subtopic or right click and add subtopic, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any question on how to use mind map or create a mind map? Do you guys see the power of using mind map instead of using traditional descriptive test cases? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. People are still skeptical of
Yes.
adaptation of mind maps, but a lot of companies are actually using it in their day-to-day testing. As people are being more agile, people want to use less documentation, but at the same time, they do not want to lose on what they have actually covered. So this tool can be used for analyzing the test coverage, annotating what are my smooth test or regression test, positive, negative test, just highlighting which I mean, test case I have covered. For example, I have only covered these test cases, then I can create my icons for all of these together, right? You don't have to go to each of those pages. You can just select all of them and put a check mark. This is my test coverage in my this tech execution. As simple as that. You can also use it for maybe creating mind map of your test automation framework. What all things to add into your test automation, you can create mind map for that. We can use it in our next session for articulating how we create test automation framework. By the way, the registration, even if, I mean, I'll stop the recording now and then we can discuss further.